Sheila Carter's world shattered like fragile glass the moment she learned that her beloved granddaughter, Luna, was gone forever, that the vibrant spark of youth and promise had been extinguished by the violence that tore through the Spencer guest house. In the hollow silence that followed, Sheila found herself bereft, abandoned in a chasm of grief so deep and jagged that each breath felt like a betrayal of her own pain. Memories of Luna's laughter. The way her eyes would sparkle when she told one of her awkward jokes flashed behind Sheila's eyelids like cruel specters, mocking her impotence in the face of fate's cruel twist. Each night, she replayed in her mind the moment the gun went off, the sickening echo that stole Luna's future in an instant. Each morning, she awoke to the weight of her loss pressing down on her chest like an executioner's boot. The days blurred into nights, and Sheila roamed the empty halls of her house as though haunted by ghosts, her mind looping through one tormenting thought after another. Why had she not been able to shield Luna? Why had her own schemes for power and revenge ended in this ultimate tragedy? But grief, as ruthless as it was, also sharpened Sheila's instincts for survival and leverage. When the no-contact order imposed by the Hayes family cut her off from the only remaining living link to Luna, the fragile threads of familial love that bound grandmother to granddaughter, Sheila's despair hardened into steel. She realized, with a jolt of calculated clarity, that leverage was the only currency left in her ruined life. And Finn, the steadfast doctor who had once saved her, now stood between her and her remaining blood tie. If he would wield his influence, if he would lift that order and allow Sheila to claim her place in her granddaughter's life, then Sheila had a commodity he could not afford to ignore: the truth behind Luna's final hours, the buried secrets of that night that could shatter reputations and undo alliances. Never one to shy away from a bargain, and ever a master of manipulation. Sheila summoned Finn to her side in a moment of theatrical vulnerability, her voice trembling with what appeared to be raw, maternal anguish. She let her shoulders slump, her eyes glisten with unseen tears, invoking the image of a broken grandmother who had suffered everything and could suffer no more. Yet beneath that veneer of sorrow lay a steely resolve. "I know you think you know me, Dr. Finn," she whispered, voice quavering as though on the brink of collapse, "but you've never seen what it means to love so deeply, to lose so completely. Luna was my only granddaughter. She was everything to me." And now she paused, letting the word hang between them like a guillotine's blade. Finn, ever compassionate despite his reservations, reached out instinctively, hand offering comfort she did not deserve but had learned to command. It was then that Sheila delivered her coup de grace. "If you lift the ban you placed on me, allow me to be in Luna's life once more, just once, to hold her memory, to speak her name, then I will tell you exactly what happened the night she died. I will expose the hidden truths the world needs to hear." Finn recoiled, his brow furrowing with moral conflict. He had sworn an oath to protect his patients, to do no harm, yet here was Sheila, dangling the key to his moral certainty in exchange for her own redemption, or perhaps vengeance. He remembered the faces he had seen that night: Liam, bleeding in the hallway, Luna, wounded and desperate, and Luna again, on the brink of recovery before fate intervened. He recalled the hush of clinical corridors and the hush that followed Luna's final breath, a silence pregnant with unspoken questions. He remembered his own grief at losing the chance to heal her, and the guilt that had shadowed him ever since. But could he break his promise to Hayes, to protect Luna's memory by keeping her safe from the chaos of Sheila's motives? Still, Sheila pressed on, weaving her web of persuasion with the precision of a seasoned predator. She spoke of the way Luna had trusted her grandmother, how Luna's final moments had been clouded by fear and confusion at the revelations she had stumbled upon, revelations that implicated powerful figures in conspiracies and cover-ups. Sheila hinted at a letter Luna had written in her last hours, at an audio recording Luna had made after her near-fatal shooting by an unknown assailant. She implied that Luna's death was more than a tragic accident, that it was the result of a tangled plot stretching back into the very heart of the Spencer-Forrester-Logan dynasty. "The truth will come out one way or another," Sheila murmured, leaning forward so that Finn could see every line of pain etched into her face. "But if you want to control how it emerges, if you want to shape what people believe, then you need me. Let me see Luna again, even if it's only in her memory, and I will give you the power to protect her legacy." Finn's thoughts raced. He thought of Liam, whose own recovery had hung on the edge between life and death, and whose daughters now needed stability more than ever. He thought of Steffi, poised to protect her sister-in-law at any cost. He thought of Hope, whose heart had weathered the most savage storms, and now guarded the delicate peace that had been so painfully won. Could any of them forgive him if he let Sheila back into their lives, if he granted this living embodiment of danger and deceit any foothold in Luna's memory? Yet he also knew that buried secrets, especially those cloaked in tragedy, had a way of surfacing when you least expected it, and that the fallout could be far more destructive if allowed to fester in the dark. Every fiber of Finn's being screamed caution, yet a flicker of duty, a duty to the truth as well as to his patients, gnawed at him. He breathed deeply, mind teetering on the precipice between duty and desperation, and finally, with a voice hoarse from moral anguish, he whispered the words that would bind them both. "I will consider your offer, Sheila," he said, though his heart thundered in his chest. "But understand this. If you lie to me, if you withhold a single piece of the truth, I will ensure you never see Luna's memory again." Sheila's lips curved in a smile both triumphant and sorrowful, a paradox that left Finn unsettled. She reached out, brushing a strand of hair from Luna's photograph that lay on the bedside table, and then retreated into the shadows of her own making, leaving Finn alone with the weight of a decision that could reshape every destiny in Los Angeles. As the door clicked shut behind her, Finn's mind swirled with images of grieving families, of revenge and redemption, of the perilous balance between justice and mercy. He stared at Luna's face, at the innocence that had been stolen from her, and vowed that whatever he chose, he would fight to honor her memory and to protect all who loved her from the darkness that threatened to consume them all. In the days that followed, word of Sheila's deal rippled through the inner circles of the Spencer and Forrester families, unsettling alliances and rekindling old fears. Steffi confronted Finn in the Forrester guest house, her voice trembling with indignation as she demanded to know what could possibly justify letting Sheila Carter back into Luna's orbit. Hope, ever the peacemaker, pleaded for patience, urging her brother-in-law to follow his own conscience, even as her eyes flashed with worry for her children's safety. Liam, still fragile from his own battles, wrote letters to Luna in his mind, imagining how he would protect her if she were here, and wishing he could shield her from her grandmother's machinations. Across town, Ridge and Brooke bristled with the potential fallout for Forrester Creations, fearing that Sheila's revelations might implicate them in events long buried beneath corporate maneuvers and family secrets. Thus the stage was set for a confrontation that would test the bonds of blood and loyalty, of vengeance and forgiveness. At its heart lay Luna's legacy. A legacy that Sheila Carter, in her grief and rage, held hostage in exchange for a chance to reclaim a piece of the granddaughter she had lost. And with Finn hanging in the balance as both healer and gatekeeper, the question looming over every heart was this: would the truth, once unleashed, set them all free, or would it unleash a storm from which no one could return unscathed? In the beautiful and brutal tapestry of Los Angeles, where love and betrayal dance on the edge of every heartbeat, the answer would be written in tears, in shattered promises, and in the quiet courage of those who dared to seek the light beyond the darkness. The long-awaited Wednesday, July 16, 2025 installment of CBS's The Bold and the Beautiful opened in the hushed stillness of Liam Spencer's hospital room, where Bill Spencer had taken up permanent residence. perched on a hard visitor's chair so long that his posture had begun to resemble the rigid frame of a statue carved from grief itself. As Dr. Grace Buckingham made her rounds, white-coated and intent, she paused beside Liam's bed to check his vital signs, murmuring words of cautious optimism as she adjusted the four-pump and listened to that fragile heartbeat echoing through the sterile air. Liam, mustering what little strength he had left, managed a wry joke about his father's unwavering vigil. "Dad, I swear, I'll be fine when you finally get up from that chair," he quipped, voice husky from days of convalescence. Bill's eyes brimmed with tears, but he refused to yield even an inch of that makeshift throne until Liam had truly turned the corner to recovery. Grace placed a gentle hand on Liam's arm, her tone warm but firm. "You're lucky to be alive, Liam. You've got more to live for than you'll ever know." Liam's gaze flickered with more than mere understanding. He felt the weight of his father's devotion, the fierce protection that had kept him tethered to life through a hailstorm of bullets and the cruel revelation of an inoperable brain tumor. In a moment that silenced even the beeping monitors, Liam spoke softly, his voice imbued with gratitude and sorrow all at once. "Dad, I know you're the luckiest man alive because of me." Bill's chest tightened. He pressed his lips to Liam's forehead, each whispered apology and word of pride a lifeline thrown across the divide of fear and hope. The conversation turned inevitably to the secret Liam had kept hidden until now, the malignant growth lurking behind his eyes, threatening the future he had fought so hard to reclaim. Liam confessed that he had concealed his diagnosis not out of malice or deceit, but out of a desperate wish to spare his father the agony of watching him waste away. Bill's hands curled into fists of regret. He should have been the one sharing the burden. He chided himself, not Liam. But before more pain could slip between them, Liam steeled himself, insisting that now, after all he had endured, after being shot twice, after the betrayal and bloodshed, he was ready to fight with every breath he had left. Grace, overhearing Liam's resolute tone, slipped away with Bill into a private corner of the room. The air between them crackled with urgency as she laid bare the experimental treatment option that might just stand a chance at defeating the tumor's relentless advance. Bill's brow furrowed. He had heard nothing of this protocol. Grace explained that the therapy, while not yet fully approved by the regulatory authorities, had shown remarkable promise in early compassionate use trials overseas, but it was a gamble, fraught with risks and steeped in legal complexities. "With your resources, Bill," Grace said, voice low and earnest, "we could make this simple. I need assurances you'll back me financially and legally, so we can proceed immediately." Bill drew a deep breath and nodded, determination flickering in his eyes like a blade's glint. "Name your price, Grace." "I'll write a blank check if it means saving my son's life." Grace exhaled, relief and desperation mingling on her features. They both knew the next, and perhaps most difficult, step was to secure Liam's consent. Back at the bedside, Bill's authoritative presence filled the cramped space as he broached the subject of this radical experimental procedure. Liam, listening intently, felt both the surge of hope and the chill of uncertainty. Grace interjected gently, her hand on Liam's shoulder, assuring him that she believed, with every fiber of her being, that this was the path to a future free of malignancy. Liam's gaze shifted between the two most important people in his world, his father, who would give anything to shield him from pain, and the brilliant surgeon, whose steady hands had already guided him back from death's door once before. After a moment that stretched into eternity, Liam nodded, tears streaming down his cheeks, and murmured the words that set destiny into motion. "I'll do it, for my girls, for all of us." Grace produced the consent forms, meticulously drafted to skirt the bureaucratic morass, and explained that the procedure would take place the very next day at a private facility unaffiliated with the hospital to avoid any institutional roadblocks. Liam, hands trembling, placed his signature on the dotted line, the ink a promise of both peril and possibility. Meanwhile, across the city at Forrester Creations' sunlit offices, Brooke Logan and Eric Forrester conferred with Ridge Forrester as the fallout from recent tragedies still rippled through their tight-knit circle. Luna Nozawa's threat had dissipated her final, tragic stand had brought devastation, but also a grim closure to the violence that had erupted in their midst. Yet the specter of Liam's brain cancer hovered over every conversation, every heart. Brooke, ever the unwavering pillar, pledged her endless support to Liam and his two precious daughters, her voice resolute, I'll be at his side, every step of the way, no matter where this leads. Eric, whose global business demands pulled him in 100 directions, surprised her with an invitation. I have a series of meetings in Italy next week, only 3 of us, Ridge, you, and me. Would you like to come along? The prospect of forging new memories under the Tuscan sun drew a genuine smile from Brooke, who longed for a respite from worry and an opportunity to rekindle her sense of adventure. While Brooke considered visions of cobblestone streets and Laurentian sunsets, back at home Donna Logan and Taylor Hayes engaged in their own spirited dialogue about Naples. Taylor, curious about Brooke's potential Italian excursion, teased Donna, "So, will you urge Brooke to go?" Donna laughed, brushing a strand of hair behind her ear. "She's the star of this family, Taylor. Of course, I want her to shine wherever she goes." Taylor quipped that she trusted Ridge's judgment, only to be interrupted by the sudden revelation that Nick Marone had returned to town. Their conversation fractured as tension hung in the air like a charged storm. Moments later, on the Forrester Mansion's manicured grounds, Nick Marone caught up with Brooke, breathless from a crosstown dash. He recounted news of the shooting with the urgency of a man haunted by recent violence. Brooke, maintaining her composure with a grace born of lifelong resilience, informed him of her plan to accompany Ridge and Eric to Italy. Nick's shoulders sagged in disappointment. He pleaded with Brooke, insisting she join him on his own business trip to Naples, promising stolen moments away from the chaos. He placed a gentle kiss on her hand, an echo of old flames and what-ifs. And Brooke's lips curved into a tender smile, torn between duty, affection, and her promise to Liam's family. As Eric and Ridge reconvened, their discussion turned inevitably to Nick's return and the complicated web of relationships that bound them all. Eric teased his son about lingering feelings for Brooke, but Ridge, ever steadfast, denied any romantic entanglement beyond familial concern. Their banter was cut short by Taylor's entrance, her arrival a reminder that the lines between personal longing and professional obligation were forever blurred in this family of visionaries and survivors. With every scene, Bill's fierce determination to save his son, Grace's bold surgical gambit, Liam's courageous acceptance of risk, Brooke's yearning for escape, and Donna and Taylor's sisterly solidarity. Tuesday's episode wove together the fractured strands of loss, love, and unwavering hope. Each character, standing at the crossroads of fear and faith, reminded us that the beautiful world of Los Angeles is as relentless as it is redemptive, where every decision carries the weight of lives touched and hearts forever changed. So don't dare miss a single moment of the drama that unfolds on The Bold and the Beautiful. Tune in on CBS or stream live on Paramount+, because when echoes of the past collide with the promise of tomorrow, only one thing is certain. You'll be breathless waiting for what comes next.